Nikki, thank you. A date to remember. Stay with us here on BBC News.
Now on BBC News, the biggest African and international news stories. Focus on Africa.
Live from Nairobi, this is Focus on Africa on BBC News. Our top stories. The three-day Africa Climate Summit in Nairobi ends with a declaration proposing new taxes to fund action against climate change.
We demand a fair playing ground for our countries to access the investment needed to unlock the potential and translate it into opportunities.
Nigeria's Presidential Election Tribunal upholds the February election of President Bola Tinubu. Also in the program, Gabon's junta make political maneuvers, while extending a hand to the opposition calm political tensions in the country. Well, thanks for joining us on the program. You're watching Focus on Africa. I'm Waihiga Mwaura. We begin here in Nairobi, where the first ever African Climate Summit has concluded. Well, African leaders have issued a declaration proposing new global taxes to fund against climate change. The heads of state say the Nairobi Declaration will form the basis of their negotiating position at November's COP28 summit that will be held in Dubai. Now, they've proposed taxes on shipping, on aviation, and the trade in fossil fuels. The Nairobi Declaration highlighted that despite suffering from some of the worst impacts of climate change, Africa only receives about 12% of the nearly 300 billion in annual financing that it needs to cope. But the final declaration was heaviest on demands that major polluters and global financial institutions commit more resources to help poorer nations and make it easier for them to borrow at affordable rates. Now, speaking at the end of the summit, Kenyan President William Ruto said it was time that Africa was given the support it needed to cope with the challenges and harness the opportunities that climate change presented. Idayat, that's very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing with us your insights. A senior associate at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, Idayat Hassan, joining us from Abuja. Meanwhile, still to come, Kenyan court convicts baby stealer nearly 3 years after a BBC Africa Eye investigation. Welcome back to the program. You're watching Focus on Africa. Could Gabon's military authorities be courting the support of the opposition? Well, the country's military ruler, General Brice Oligui Nguema, has met the opposition candidate Albert Ondo Ossa as part of consultations on rebuilding the country. Mr. Ossa was the main challenger to ousted President Ali Bongo in the election, which was annulled when the military seized power last week. Mr. Ossa boycotted Monday's inauguration ceremony of General Nguema. He indicated that he had won the annulled elections and should have been sworn in as president. So what do these developments actually mean? Well, we want to explore that at this time. And I am joined by Dr. Michael Amwa, who's a senior visiting fellow at the London School of Economics. Michael, thanks for making time for us on the program. What do you make of this meeting from a democracy perspective in terms of political stability as well? What sense do you get? That's what you know so far. Thank you so much, Jerry Mwangi, joining us from BBC Africa Eye with talking about that story. And of course, thank you so much also for having tuned in. And you can get in touch with me and some of the team on social media with your feedback. I'm at Waihiga Mwaura at BBC Africa as well. But on behalf of the whole team that's made this broadcast possible, thanks for joining us. We'll see you again tomorrow. My name is Waihiga Mwaura. Goodbye.
Hello. We've seen an active spell of weather in the West Pacific in terms of typhoons and tropical storms lately.